in this house. The most dire, horrible events you'll face.
You are not content with the stories. Somebody's lives come. Be my victim.
Through watching scenes of violence, through watching scenes of transgression, through watching scenes of horror. There's an enormous amount of sort of abattoir of excess.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Good evening, folks. I hope you're all here and ready to enjoy this fantastic episode of Double Feature Horror Show. It is our 100th episode. 100 of these we've done. 100. Just let that sink in for a second. It still sort of shocks me.
Woo! Yeah, we did it. We did it, Reddit.
Oh, you will recognise some dulcet, familiar tones in there. If we're doing episode 100, who else are we going to have back on? But your boy Haryan.
The Three Musketeers. Hello, hello, hello. How is everyone? I hope you all didn't miss me too much. It's been a while at this point, but I'm glad you're getting me on for films that don't make me want to commit self-forever sleep or make me want to get Canadian healthcare, whatever the euphemism for it is these days.
I like the Canadian healthcare euphemism. That's my go-to at the moment. I love that.
Nice.
Hello, chat. Good to see you in. I see. Oh, people, are you accusing me of shilling again after the Scream stream? My mentions of delicious, refreshing Coke products that you can purchase at any convenience store are entirely natural, and they just flow out of me. You know. It's honestly, I don't like these accusations that I take money from Big Coke. Terrible, terrible. Yeah. I got distracted by that. Sorry, Harriet. I'll be honest though, I was worried having you back on. Like it's usually been okay, but this is a film I am really passionate about. You have rated this more than 5 burgers, right? You don't have to give the exact number. You don't have to give the exact number, but more than 5, right?
That's about all I'm saying for now.
All right. Okay. We'll carry on. But of course, folks, you know, we can't do double feature horror show with just me and Harry. And although we have done that once or twice, we, of course, have the other regular co-host here. He's back with a whole list full of new insults. It's that crime guy.
Yes, ever since Prince turned himself into a symbol. How are you doing?
I knew you wouldn't need much to get that one. I'm doing fine. I've been a bit rushed with this one because you could go so into the weeds with it. There are so many details on this film that we could explore. It's going to be tricky to stay on the right side of Super Nanny this week, I'm telling you.
Oh, God, right. Well, better make sure we barricade our doors then, because we don't want to barging in saying, unacceptable, unacceptable. Can't have that.
No. But while we're all here, let's get it out nice and early. Folks, we are on YouTube. It is time for a quick bit of shilling. Of course, you know what to do while we're in, it's no longer Lord Susan Isles' domain. It's Lord, was it Neil Mohan?
Neil Mohan, yeah.
Has that already happened? I thought that was in the works. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
She is gone, mate. She is gone.
Oh, that's good. That means I can say no.
No. No, you don't.
Finally, we're free. I don't need black friends anymore.
God, Harriet.
It was nice being monetized. And since I am monetized, you can celebrate my monetization and the 100th episode of Double Feature Horror Show with super chats, of course. So
Yay.
So
Well
smooth.
done.
And of course, if you don't want to send a certain large cut of your support for this channel and the work I do and the greater projects I'm working on, you can get in there with a channel membership, which for some reason has a much lower cut than a super chat, or skip YouTube entirely and go on to Subscribestar and support me there. Many are doing so, and I frankly love you all. We've had a lot of extra members recently, and you guys are absolute darlings. I really appreciate it. There is a member exclusive video that is dropping tomorrow. So for anyone signing up, you'll get to enjoy it. For everyone who's already a member, hopefully you will enjoy it too. It's a risky one, but I'm basically going to see if you guys tear me apart over this one before I release it generally. So we'll see how that goes. But of course, I'm not the only person here to shill. We have TCG and Haryan. And so, tell you what, Haryan, would you like to shill, please?
Yeah, I can't remember what the last video I did was talk about the illegal migration bill. I think it's a good move. I don't think a lot's going to happen from it, though, because there's so much going against the UK government.
Why
That's
don't you
pretty
want
much the sum
doctors,
of it.
Haryan?
Because they're really annoying me, and they strike half the time anyway, so what's the point? So there's that. But I'm hoping to get another video out by the end of the week. At the moment in the pipeline, it was going to be replying to Ash Sarkar on Tradwives, because she basically called them all white supremacists because one said something vaguely great replacement like, and I'm just like, okay, I kind of want to go through this because she doesn't get it. But a bigger thing is with the Wellington project, because we interviewed. We have revealed it. We revealed. We didn't reveal him. We interviewed Father Calvin Robinson.
A lovely man.
Exactly, a lovely man.
Oh, God bless you.
Exactly. So that should be out tomorrow evening, I believe. So do give that a watch. He goes on a massive rant about video games being cringe, and that you should go to church instead.
No. Disavow.
I mean, he does say that tongue in cheek because he did used to be a video game journalist. So,
hang on, what?
Wait,
no.
Really?
Yeah, I think he used to be a video game journalist.
Nice.
That is some creepy deep lore.
Yeah,
Chad, did you know that? That has blown my mind.
Wikipedia.
Oh my gosh!
I'm sure he used to be. Let me.
All right.
Let me
well,
double check that. I don't want to. I don't want to make him seem
Don't slander him with the name of journalist. All right. Well, Haryan checks if he slandered a vicar. TCG, how about yourself? You popped out a bit of a hefty one recently.
Yes. The big project I've been working on for the past couple of weeks, on and off, stuff in terms of my real work, was finally put out. It was released, I think it was Tuesday. A bit later than I had planned. I planned it for Sunday, but yes, it is a bit of a roller coaster journey. Picture the scene. It's 2003. You're in the small town of Woonsocket, Rhode Island, and all of the ladies of the night are prowling high in Arnold Street. Two of them get the absolute snot kicked out of them, and they find the guy responsible, and he's in prison awaiting trial. And one of the women is prepared to stand up and testify against him in a court of law to secure his conviction. And then a year later, she goes missing. And the guy who's in prison had nothing to do with it. And then more women of the night start going missing. And then it dawns on the police that they've got another man prowling the streets, taking away the women. You could say he's the ultimate thought patroller, but go and check it out yourself.
Nice.
Absolutely. You know what? I just saw this. I wanted to respond to it. I can empathize, but I did get very lucky. If it helps, I slowly brought waifu into the fold on horror, but in a very awkward way. If you've been around the channel long enough, you've heard us talk about how she was like, "Oh, you like horror? That's cool. What would be good to watch?" And I literally did a horror syllabus for her, and I gave her a little sort of 20-minute lecture before we started watching each film. And for some reason, she stuck with me and got into horror. So maybe just give him a 20-minute lecture. And if you're interested, the first film we watched was The Haunting from I get this wrong every time, 1967, I think, the Robert Wise version. But I can sympathize when You have specific tastes. All right. Well, we should get into it because the Wicker Man. There is so much to cover. So much to cover. But of course, what's this thing on the right of the screen? Oh, it's a topic. It's a topic, guys. Haryan's back, and we're talking about BBFC history. Isn't it lovely and nostalgic?
Oh my god!
It's like he never left.
What's in it for today? Is it?
This
gonna
is
be
like
madness?
that meme of like, oh gosh, Lambda guest starring, covering the Human Centipede. What are you talking about? Hey, Haryan's on, and we're talking about the BBFC. I've mangled that, but oh, never mind. It's quite the
and you're still
flashback.
mangling it.
All right. Well, let's have a little look at this because I realise I'm in a weird place with the BBFC stuff. I'm a little bit stuck with it because we kind of impromptu got to the end of the BBFC. We kind of hit current day unintentionally when we briefly covered the fact that they've got a brand new president, Natasha Kaplinsky. That's right, first woman president. Yeah,
Cringe.
Yeah, we talked a bit about what it means. The fact that in the news announcing it, they made such a big deal of everything Natasha Kaplinsky did as a journalist, including focusing on child safety and the dangers of online stuff. What does that mean?
Nice.
Well, they're signaling very hard that the BBFC is going to take a much bigger role in rating stuff that's online. Now, Ofcom is in charge of a lot of that, and you should watch Scrump and Evelyn's streams if you want to understand a lot more about that. But my prediction for where the BBFC remit is that they'll probably get much more involved in streaming platforms. You probably notice, folks, whenever you go streaming, the ratings they have are not our ratings. They are weird, foreign ratings. You guys notice that?
Foreigners, how?
No. I didn't even know streams had ratings.
Yeah. If you click on it, you'll see it's a mature rated.
Okay.
Or sometimes it's 16.
Aren't they just American?
They're largely American.
There you go.
It depends on the
I guess.
platform. Some of them are using Homebrew. Some of them just give you the American version. It's kind of a mix. So my prediction is the BBFC is going to say, "Oi, have you got a streaming license? Then you need to use our certificates." That's my guess.
Isn't that what the Germans are doing?
Oh, I don't know, but are you asking for a whole series of topics on the German film rating system, Haryan?
Yeah.
Oh, what a fantastic idea, guys.
Oh my no! Oh no! I'm so sorry,
wow. Chat. Chat, can we have an FS car in the chat for... Oh, bugger, what's it stand for? I can't remember. I think it's Freiwilliger something. Freiwilliger selbst. I can't remember it. I'm going to look it up, but the German certificates have FSK in them. Let's have an FSK for German film ratings, and I'll give you a massive series on them. You wonder why the channel doesn't grow sometimes, don't you? But anyway.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
All right.
No.
So that's where I think they're going. But one fairly recent development that we've had is that the BBFC decided they wanted to launch an app.
But why?
Well, that's a really good question, Haryan. Why would you use an app?
I don't know. You'll have to. Well, I don't know, to data mine us. That's what
I'm just trying to think. Like you're Johnny film goer, and you stand in front of a poster, and you're trying to work out, should I go for it or not? Is it going to be too much? Well, you're kind of already there, aren't you? And if you're going to look it up, wouldn't you go straight to the website to get the information?
Yeah.
And
okay.
The theory, one of the things people have complained about is that a lot of it is what you have on the website less, you know. So some of the what you get is a slimmed down. I wonder if I can zoom in on this for you. Oh, I can. Look, there we go.
Oh,
Taylor.
nice.
I'll
There you go.
move us to the scene so you can see this. Sorry, let's go for that again. So you can look around what's coming up. Did you know there's a new release? I'm sure you go to the BBFC app for new releases.
Sure.
Average British Family, very cool. Guide to the ratings there. I'll also say, folks, if you're interested, and I know at least one of you will be, the BBFC they recently did a series on their own rating systems, covering each rating of the modern ratings. It's, of course, not as good as the history that you got here on this channel, because they only did the current existing ones. And they kind of admitted their whole organization was pointless whilst they did it. But that is literally. Do you want me to tell you about it?
Go on.
Yeah, I
do
kind of
it.
want to
Yes.
hear how they admitted that they were pointless. That sounds
Okay, so they got a bunch
strange.
of them in, and they were talking about the 12 certificate, right? And they're
Yeah.
talking about the weirdness of the 12 and the 12A, and how basically we did have a certificate for 14 and above, which of course you will all remember is the AA certificate. I don't do this just to
what an
torment you
episode.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they said that unfortunately it was kind of a grey zone that they'd introduced and they weren't as sure. So what they decided to do was introduce a 12A and make it advisory. They had feedback from parents that was effectively, I went to see the 12 and to be honest, I don't think it's too bad for my kid, my younger kid. And so they ran a trial in a specific area where they let children under 12 see a 12 if they were accompanied. And then they collected parental feedback and parents said, yeah, it was fine. But so they considered, okay, we'll make a 12A advisory. But what we want to do following parental feedback is we will include a little more information about what is in the film rated 12A. And then they expanded this outwards. So you used to just see film was rated PG and you'd have a rough guess what would be in it. And now it's PG contains mild threat, mild language, and scary scenes of spiders, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Or you'll see 12, like Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. 12A contains mild language, moderate threat, and extreme sounding. And then you can make a decision off that over whether you will let your kids see it. Okay?
Makes sense, yeah.
So my point is, following the 12A, basically all the film posters got this extra information on. And it's, what is mild, what is moderate, what is extreme? That's kind of hard to tell. But, if you're really concerned about sexy scenes, if you're concerned about swearing, you've got that information right there next to the rating on every poster now. And that's from 2002 onwards. So my point is, you're in the cinema and you're wondering, is this right for my kid? Is this what they should see? And that's on the poster. So why would you go for the app?
Yeah.
And if you want a bit more detail, you go to the website because the app doesn't have all the detail. And furthermore, if you want the real detail that, someone who's completely normal and balanced like me does, you want to know which versions exist and how much time was cut out of it at different time periods. You can't get that on the app, and that's actually one of the things people complained about. That wasn't me under a different name, I assure you. It was someone else just naturally wrote, hey, where's the information on cut versions?
Right.
I'm like, so I get, my point is like, why do you need this? Why would you look up a film on the BBFC app?
It does seem like a pretty pointless one. When I showed you this, it just seems like somebody in an office, they've had like some sort of crunch meeting, like, so guys, how can we make ourselves look hip and trendy to all the young millennials out there? And then they thought to themselves, everyone's using apps at the moment and everybody's really into their apps. I wonder if we put out a BBFC app, no doubt all the kids will start being interested in the film ratings and they'll find us really cool and hip and find us relatable. Very much like a hello fellow children kind of, hello fellow kids kind of moment. But when I sort of had a little bit of a peruse through this myself before sending it to you, I was like, it's just pointless.
Why did you do this? Why?
Why did you spend time and resources on this?
Chat. I did just see this thing. Lil Gamba. This is the original one, not the bees. I wouldn't inflict bees on you. I'm being nice to you guys because we are covering Human Centipede soon. So I'm being very nice to you. It's only quality. Right. I also realised I didn't get into the bit where they talked about how the BFC said they were pointless. It was following this trial where they let kids basically ignore the certificate if they were accompanied, and said, well, to be honest, the parental feedback was that they knew what was best for their child. So the certificate didn't matter as much.
Right.
Which is kind of like a massive own. Like, parents basically said, we don't mean much, and they'd make their own decision, to be honest. They also ended up talking... I love this as well. Sorry, chat. There's not much to say about the app, but there is a lot to talk about the BBFC self-reporting on their own podcast. Now, okay, so you're going to know, like, 12A only exists in the cinema, right? When it goes to video, it becomes a 12, right? The logic of that was, in the cinema, you can see the children and you know if they're accompanied or not, so you can enforce it. But we can't enforce it in the home. So at that point, we just have to call it a 12. Guys, chat, tell me, did you did any of you by any chance watch anything, say, slightly of an older certificate on VHS or DVD in the home?
Never. I was a good boy. I was an absolute good boy. I was an angel.
Yeah. I certainly did not watch Aliens recorded off ITV when I was 9. Definitely not.
I never watched my mum's copy of Stephen King's It. No, actually, no. That was my best friend's mum's copy. Never watched it.
Yeah. I just, the lack of self-awareness on that one just kind of cracked me up.
I bet Haryan never went outside the range of BBFC recommendations. I will say this though, actually, I do remember this one time when I was in school. Sorry to go a bit off track, but you just reminded me. We must have been about 12 or 13 at the time. You know how every now and again at school they'd be like, right, we're not doing a class today. We're gonna you can sit down. It was like one of these end of term things. You sit down and you watch a film. So it was one of these things. But the film happened to be a 15. Now we were all underage, but the teacher didn't really care. But apparently the parents of, I won't say her name, bless, but apparently the parents of one of the children were very particular about the age ratings of movies and very strict towards it. And I remember she said to her in front of a class of 30 children, name, are you sure your mum and dad would be comfortable with this? Because I know it's a 15. And for the next 4 years, she got absolutely ripped on.
Oh, you would get mullered for that.
Oh,
that is brutal.
Just like, oh my God.
I think we might have a winner here.
Oh my God.
I think you might have won that one, Rich.
RoboCop. I must have been about that age when I watched RoboCop 2. Your move, creep.
Not actually seen RoboCop.
What are my days?
I think you would love it, Haryan. I think.
I know I'd like it.
You have to watch it.
It's Paul Verhoeven, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is our good friend Paul Verhoeven.
The
Guy who, the famous fascism understander.
I was going to say that the peak fascism understander.
By the way, folks, if you haven't seen it, Haryan's got a really good video on the misinterpretation of Starship Troopers. It's an old one, but highly recommended. I enjoyed it a lot.
It's a critical drinker, that wasn't it?
You were responding to it.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah. Oh god, I'm trying to think of it because he did have some absolute insane takes. I mean, most of them were just look at them; they're wearing trench coats.
Yeah. I'll drop it now. The video that's exclusive for members, dropping tomorrow, is responding to the critical drinker, and
he can't keep getting away with it.
I don't know if I went a bit too harsh on it, but he said a thing that upset me, and I got going. But I don't know. We'll see how that one goes. See if you guys think I went too far. So let's round this off. You got the app, so we're like, what else do you get from it? Maybe you want that deep detail on what is in the film. And as we said, they kind of don't give you the deep detail in the film before you go in. They just tell you mild swearing, moderate threat, Welshman. And it's not that detail. So if you were looking in advance, you wouldn't go for the BBFC. You'd go for something like... I'm not saying like this is the best one out there. This is the one I'm most aware of that I looked at. This one has the benefit that parents write in on it. Now it's got its own biases, just like the BBFC has got its own biases. But the fact that parents can comment on it really makes it quite interesting. So this one, you get a lot more information on what is in the film if you're concerned about it. So that's probably where you would go and not BBFC app. So I basically round it off saying, why did you do this? Why did you make an app? You didn't need an app.
Gay?
Who said I'm gay?
You said I'm gay.
I can't do it. All right. Well, I mean, that's all I had on the app. Did you guys have anything else?
Not from me, no.
All right, sweet.
Why even rate films? Just let kids see Cannibal Holocaust and be done with it. Ruin their innocence.
Exactly.
They're all watching Drag Queen Story Hours anyway. Just why not?
We must protect their innocence, Haryan.
No one else.
No
thinks
12
that.
for you. Go and see the Drag Queen Story Hour down the way.
Exactly.
I could go into it more, but I'm not. I'm gonna behave. There were some interesting things in the 12A certificate podcast. So if that's the only one you listen to, that's the one. Okay, here we go. Oh dear. Not the old op-eye bopping out. Very distracting. Giving it the old dead or alive beach volleyball energy. You got to be careful with that, Jay.
What a game.
Oh, yes. All right. 31 people in chat. Hey, since there's 31 of you, this is a fantastic time to take that like button, bop it over the head with a candlestick, and while you're at it, get that subscribe button. Drag that subscribe button into a great big wicker YouTube screen.
And most importantly, you see that favourite button, you put a basket over its head and pour the bees into it. You let it know who's
No, not the bees. Oh,
amazing.
All right, thanks. All right, I think we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about The Wicker Man 19. I said I didn't have 5 minutes on the app, and here we go. Oh dear, state of me, eh? Let's talk about The Wicker Man.
All right.
Written by Anthony Shaffer. You'll know him for Sleuth, probably. And directed by Robin Hardy. This is an oddity. It's from 1973. The version that I watched, and I encourage people to watch, was the... Oh, here we go. Me, Matt, got to do it. Excellent choice. The one I watched is the 2013 cut. And my gosh, it's interesting. They had trebled production on this one. I'm putting that up as well. That's fantastic. They had a bit of a trebled production on this one. Where to start with it? So the initial release, 87 minutes. The studio backing it, they contrary to popular rumour, they didn't think it was terrible, but they didn't think it was going to be very accessible to the public. They thought people would find it weird, off-putting, they'd be annoyed at the end. By the way, full spoilers, folks, for The Wicker Man, a film released 50 years ago, 1973. We're in 2023. This is current year. 50 years old, this is. They thought the audience weren't going to go for it. And so they imposed some... Sorry, mate?
Shows what they know.
Exactly. Ugh, ignore the studio. Well, the studios, underestimated the audience. But they put out
idiots.
87. I mean, look, it's full of bobs, right? Who's going to hate it?
The gays.
I will assure you, the gays love bobs.
Well, the women ones do, yeah.
No, the male gays love some bobs too. Trust me. Anyway, everyone loves bobs. Right. Ask your local gay chap. Anyway, that was a weird detour. So basically, they only put out an 87-minute version in cinemas. And then it's been sort of 50 years of trying to find the rest of the film when it turned out everyone liked this. Roger Corman was sent a larger version, a 99-minute version, which I believe was available in the US. Why we don't have it, I don't know. I couldn't find out details of that. We got a slightly expanded version. And then later, in 2013, we got what was referred to as the final cut, which is one I watched, which is 93 minutes. But it's got its footage from very different sort of levels of processing. So when you watch the final cut, you get those wonderful extra minutes and some really good stuff and a very disturbing scene with snails. But it's also very obvious that it's additional footage. Like you guys probably noticed, I hope you saw this version. Did you ever scene in a church at the start?
Yes.
No.
You didn't. Okay, so you might have seen the theatrical version.
My one had Italian subtitles.
Don't
worry, it was English dubbed.
That's so weird. Your legally acquired copy had Italian subtitles. That's very diverse.
It couldn't work the DVD player. Don't worry about it.
Actually, wait a minute. Did it? I don't know.
Give it a check. If it started with it. By the way, I will point out there's your director on the left there.
Actually, I feel like maybe it did.
Okay. But just look at the quality of this is not great, and it's not just because they're inside. You can tell that is rougher footage, basically. So
they are in church.
Yeah, they weren't working off the original for this. You do have that extra material in though, and I absolutely love this stuff that they include. I think it's gorgeous and worth doing. And even at this expanded level, the final cut is 93 minutes. Wait, did I say 93 or 97? What am I at?
97, but my
oh, apologies, 93. That's the one I've got.
Yes, then that's the one I've got too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And to be honest, the 93-minute is probably all we're going to get, unless we can find out why we can't get a 99-minute version of it.
It's literally just, a few more minutes of more boobs. Is it worth it?
Oh.
Is it worth it?
For boobs, yes.
I don't know. Boobs are pretty good, but I don't think it's worth. It's not like going on a national treasure hunt for it. That's all I'm saying.
Are you smuggling in Nicolas Cage references?
I am unintentionally there. I was halfway through that and I realised, wait a minute.
Yeah. One of the things the studio suggested was add a happy ending.
No.
Are you telling me you didn't want the mainland police force to turn up in the nick of time and rescue our hero?
That would have been weird.
Why would anyone want that?
They also suggested reshooting it so that there is a sudden rainstorm that
wrong
puts
with
it.
What, that puts out the
people?
fire?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Do not listen to the studios, folks. Never
Studios,
listen.
they literally have no idea how to make films.
Yes.
I say that unironically.
Yeah. This is a very good. Yeah. Do not listen to. Look, if you listen to. If you try and make it for what the audience want, you are going to get a very dumbed down meh movie.
You're gonna have a bad time.
You're going to have a bad time. So yeah, we have the 93-minute cut. It is uncompromising. It is weird as heck. It is extremely uniquely British, although I fully appreciate that for people who are very into folklore, you will see that a lot of it is kind of inaccurate and slapdash, and like, this didn't happen in this area. This isn't really how they would have done it. This is kind of a mishmash of traditions.
Yeah,
So I fully appreciate if you are into your folklore and paganism that this would annoy you. I don't have that knowledge, so it kind
I was going to say it was a bit odd. I was going to say it was a bit odd that it wasn't a Scottish island, and they're doing all this kind of stuff they'd be doing in the south of England in pagan times.
Yes, yeah.
No, I think my headcanon said, what's it called? Whoever Lord Summerfield mentioned, like his great grandfather or something came over in the 1800s from England to test out, I don't know, some sort of GMO type thing. It wasn't GMO, but you know what I mean.
Yes, Lord Summerisle, the great
yes.
man who came and revitalised the islands.
Yeah, exactly. So, so yeah, I just get the feeling that maybe it's my headcanon that it's actually an Englishman that started these traditions in the Scottish island. So maybe that's why they're doing
that. Does rescue it.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as people complain about that, it's specifically mentioned by Christopher Lee's Lord Summerisle that his grandfather brings it over and revitalizes the population with it effectively. But it's a curious film. It is Christopher Lee's favorite performance of all his films. He really believed in it to the point that he went and did the press for this unpaid. He didn't take any. Well, I don't know if he received any kind of royalties for it. I assume he would, but he didn't take any pay for acting in it, and he went and promoted it on his own for free.
Oh wow!
So he was really proud of it, and you can kind of understand because to set this in context, this is 1973, as we said. This is kind of towards the end of Hammer. Hammer horror is getting a bit slutty. It's not putting out its best stuff. Well, yeah, I'm thinking of
they're not sending their best.
I pull up the poster for Twins of Evil, but we are a family-friendly stream here. I think that had Ingrid Pitt in it, who's in this as the librarian / records keeper. But she keeps a top on in this. So she's about the only one. So, what I'm trying to say is, why might Christopher Lee love this so much? Why might he be willing to do this for free? And I think it's because it's a unique vision that's coming in after kind of a down period in a lot of horror, where they're just sort of redoing stuff. Was it? I know Murgut will know this. Is it Dracula AD 1972 or something? Or Dracula in London 1970? What's the one I'm thinking of there? Basically, they were getting a bit tawdry and it was a bit samey, so they have their own charm, but Hammer was not putting out its best stuff. So when this comes along, I think Lee saw a chance to do something very unique, very impressive, and he leapt at it.
Good lad, I say.
Yeah, and they also you'll notice, like, it's very bloodless.
Yeah, not a lot of gore.
I did notice that, and I did appreciate it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in contrast to it, in contrast for all the lack of gore, huge amounts of bubbins. Oh, hang on. Apologies. Yeah, sorry. That's my facial recognition going off. I thought that was just like a random villager. I didn't get that it was Ingrid Pitt, who is in the bathtub. Okay, darn it. Never mind. That was a weird scene. That was a very weird scene, Ron. Okay. Yeah, so it's got a really interesting place in being a huge contrast to the horror films being put out at the time. Oh, hang on. There we go. Thank you, Fez. Much appreciated. Oh, I was close. And of course, Christopher Lee was in that with his little harem of 1970s doxies. So yeah, this is a really interesting like counterpoint to the horror going out at the time. And this comes from a different studio, we should mention, which is kind of relevant. Sorry, I know I'm going on just setting out the background. But it's also very interesting where it's coming in what's happening in Britain. Like, this is a post-60s film, and there are lots of concerns about liberalization of society, attitudes following the 60s, and you've got to think of those themes are extremely current when this film is being made. And you've got this kind of odd shift of Sergeant Howie is the upright, modern British Christian man, and he goes to an island where everything is kind of reverted to a form of pagan licentiousness, explicitly as a sort of callback to the old. Right. And yet in Britain at the time, the sort of licentiousness, the liberalizing, the free spiriting is the new thing. It's not the old thing, it's the new thing. So it's kind of interesting texture there, which I think maybe we find it a bit hard to appreciate now.
I suppose, yeah.
I've talked for way too long about this. Let's get into it. Who fancies giving, for anyone who didn't do their homework, who fancies doing the Guinness summary, the pint of Guinness summary for The Wicker Man?
It's got to be Haryan, surely.
Pint of Guinness summary?
Yeah, we bring it in.
Change.
Well, hang on. Should we go back to the old 3-minute review for our lad here?
Oh no!
I was going to say it's all new.
All right, you've got an actual 3-minute review. I have to time it here. Super Nanny is strict these days. She's got a taser.
Okay. Say when.
All right, and hold on, and go.
Okay. Edward Woodward, Sergeant, whatever he's called, I can't remember his name. Don't really care. Howie. He arrives to a remote Scottish island by plane. That just shows you how remote it is. It's one of those planes with skis on as well. Anyway, I'm wasting my 3 minutes. He then gets onto the island eventually after a little row with the villagers about it being private property, and then it turns out he's there asking around about a missing girl, presumably put in by her mother, or who he thinks is her mother. So he asks around the village for a bit, finds out that when he says, I can't remember her name, Rowan, I think it is. She's always. Yes, she's always referred to as a hare, and he keeps going around investigating. Goes into a pub at one point where he needs a place to sleep because it's an inn, and they're all singing and dancing, and then he walks in. They all stop, and it's all very Hot Fuzz, to be honest. But
of course, Edward Woodward was in Hot Fuzz.
Was he? Stop the clock. When was he in Hot Fuzz?
I'll get the character name for you. Carry on.
But the villagers are all acting a bit weird, and then when he has they start singing again. He has his dinner, what have you, and then after that he goes outside, and there's basically a big orgy in the field, and there's a big freeze frame onto two people in the orgy doing it, and I thought that was a bit odd. But he kind of just ignores it, goes to his room, and then notices that Christopher Lee sends up a boy to a girl's room and basically says, go on, be a slag. And he's very weirded out by all this, but he's got a job to do. He gets past it. He's kept awake by the locals singing downstairs. There's preparations for May Day going on, he notices, but he doesn't care. He's carrying on his investigation. Asks a load of girls at school, saying, have you seen her? They all say no. Says the teacher, what's going on? She's in the register here. You're all lying to me. Takes him outside and says, well, there's no such thing as death here because we believe life goes on forever. Your spirit goes away, but you're still alive. And he's like, oh, okay, you're all a bunch of freaks. Does some carries on his investigation into the library, looks things up, finds a grave, thinks that it's Rowan in there, so asks permission from Lord Summerisle, Christopher Lee, the leader of the kind of almost not mayor, but leader of the place at the very least, about the whole thing. He goes into detail about why kids are running around naked and, reproduction, basically being a bit Brave New World about it. So after that, digs up the body. Oh, it's a hair in there, and he gets laughed at, and he gets even more confused, asks, why is there a buried hair? They're all a bit more weird, so he's like, oh, screw it. Carries on his investigation. There's a whole 3-minute scene of can't remember the woman's name, naked singing for some reason. He's being tempted, obviously, but no, he's a good Christian man. He doesn't do it. No sex before marriage, kids. So after that, he looks a bit more into this whole pagan thing and thinks, oh, I've done about as much as my investigation as I can. I need to head back. But as he heads back, is his plane sabotaged? We can't get it going. Definitely. Yeah. Well, okay, it's implied it's sabotaged. So he heads back. Everyone's getting ready for the May Day festival. He gets caught, so manages to break out, beats up the. There's a few good horror bits in this bit, but I won't get into it yet. Beats up the guy who's playing the fool in the parade. So carries on with that. Stealths his way through, manages to survive a few things that he thinks is going to kill him, a few of the games that they do. And then eventually, yay, they say that there's a sacrifice, and this is our sacrifice. It's Rowan. And he's like, and he runs up and punches a man in the face. And I really hope you made that Last of Us 2 meme of that bit, because that'd be really funny.
Oh, no. I didn't do it. Chat, someone whip that up. It's got the energy, though, hasn't it?
Exactly. So saves Rowan. And then the twist, everything was set up all along. You are our sacrifice because our crops failed last year. And he tries to reason with them, make theological arguments, and then tries to appeal to, well, if this doesn't work, they'll get you next time. And Summerisle's like, nah. And then they put him in the Wicker Man and burn him. There you go, sad ending.
Definitely. In Silent Hill terms, bad plus.
Exactly, yes.
Bad plus ending. Yep, that is it. That is it. Your prize is a you can have an Edward Woodward in Hot Fuzz, which was a bit of a nightmare to try and say. Here we go. There he is. That's him.
Oh, really?
He's a neighborhood watch guy. That's him.
No way. Oh,
seriously.
That's incredible.
They knew what they were doing. It's my favourite bit when he's got the printouts of the human statue, just tracking him over time. Makes me so happy.
God, he only died 2 years after that film.
Sorry, Matt?
He only died 2 years after Hot Fuzz came out.
Alas. Oh, dear. Well, we got you on for a Christian perspective of this. There's a bit more of our focus, but I guess the starter would be, how did you like this premise?
I actually liked it quite a lot.
Sorry, actually, before that, Haryan, what was your awareness of the Wicker Man before you went in? Like, did you go in fresh? Like, totally?
I was pretty fresh. The only it's actually quite similar because there's a new ride at Alton Towers called Wicker Man, and it is. God, I went with Tash, and she hates statues or anything that's kind of moving and supposed to be human-like. So before that ride, you put into this big dark room, and they give you a bit of the backstory of the Wicker Man. And at one point, this big like projected face appears and starts burning. And you know, Tash shot herself. I was laughing quite hard, to be honest. While at the same time being, it'll be okay
when your partner is suffering. To be honest,
oh yeah. Yeah,
who doesn't love scaring their
there's
partner?
there's something about them being terrified that's just so funny. But so yeah, that was most, and so the story of that was usually we sacrifice animals, but every now and then crops fail and we have to sacrifice a human. So you're the human sacrifice, and it's pretty much the same concept as this. So it was actually more similar than I thought it would be. But aside from that, I mean, I didn't know anything about an investigation. I didn't know why he was there. So yeah, it was all quite fresh from that perspective, which I did enjoy it. It's a very, it is quite a simple story, but it's one that's really well executed in this. So that's, my perspective. And then, yeah, I did appreciate that the cop was essentially the one Chad Christian and the rest were just disgusting neo-pagans.
There is, I mean, that stuff is incredibly deep. The way he becomes, how can I say? It's people might not want like deep political readings of this, but this is amazing.
But you're gonna get it.
If you're on this channel, I can't help it. Like, is this not just a kind of conflict of visions and the destruction of the idea of the neutral state?
there was parts of that in it as well. Actually, I'll say,
yeah. There's so much of here where he's in and he can't help but he's imposing a vision. Like, he's meant to be the neutral guy, but he's coming with a vision, and they're having a vision, and it just lays it out very nakedly. Like, every society has a vision, and it will impose it. And I loved all that stuff. There's a kind of realpolitik analysis of the Wicker Man, which is incredibly rewarding, because how can I word it? Because of the reveal at the end, your power analysis for this gets sort of turned upside down.
When a couple of guys are up to no good.
Exactly. I mean, like a whole island is up to no good.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah. So just, how can I say? You see that Howie's authority, Howie thinks he can get authority from his position at the start. But like from the very start, no one respects him. Like, he's in the plane and he's saying, "Help me aboard, come on, I'm the police." And they're like, "Nah." He has to get his megaphone out and they're like, "Nah, I think you lost, mate."
Reluctantly they help, yeah.
Yeah. They're just obviously messing with him.
This is private land. I don't care, I'm a policeman.
Yeah, and you see that he's over the course, like, he kind of breaks down the thing. He realizes that he doesn't have any authority from his uniform, and actually he just has to use force of will. And I've got I took a clip from this just because hang on. Have I labeled it anything sensible? It's when he's in the there we go. So they're messing with him here. They say he wants to search for the school register. And they say, "Oh no, you'll need a warrant," and he will, or "You'll need permission from Lord Summerisle," and he's like, "No, balls," and he just kind of barges her and looks it up, and it's sort of that's a moment of him kind of admitting that this is all about imposing a will.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell like throughout the film he was getting progressively more and more frustrated at the. At the locals.
Well, they were purposefully,
Oh, of course, yeah. No, I get it. I did find it. My general vibe of this cop that I got during the film though was that he sort of turned around at one point to Christopher, like the Lord, and was like, "I'm only interested in the law," and it's like, but you spend half the film morality policing the residents because they're of a different, religious opinion than you.
Well, he makes the point that it's a Christian country at one point, which I did appreciate, to be honest.
Yeah, well,
Um,
I'm just saying, I'm pretty sure there's some Iranian police stations that would really greatly appreciate his input.
Yeah,
maybe.
it does. Yeah, you could say that.
Sorry.
We have a Church of England. We have a state head who is Christian, and therefore, but I mean, I don't know how that doesn't exactly hold out today.
No, but
it's weird to think of anyone trying that line today.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying there isn't an obvious state religion, but it is not Christianity.
I do find it funny when he has his first conversation with the Lord, and like one of the first things he says is like, can I exhume the body? We need to do tests on it, blah blah blah. And he's like, yeah, sure, go for it, whatever. And then he goes through like this massive like sort of debate and exposition dump of like the story, and then at the end he's like, so can I exhume the body? And then there was a bit of a pause, and I thought to myself, he already said that you can. And then the Chris Felice character was like, well, I thought I explicitly said that you could. And I was like, yes, good man. He got distracted from his mission. You roped him back in.
Yeah. You also notice in all of these, and you can't exactly avoid it, but Christopher Lee absolutely mogging Edward Woodward constantly. I mean, Christopher Lee is a tall dude, but some of the shots are brutal. Just really, Lord Summerisle is just towering over him. And I think it probably helps the fact that Edward Woodward was a, I've got to call him something else. That is a nightmare for me to attempt to say. He was a TV actor at this time. Like, he really wasn't a big guy. This massively raised his profile. He got a couple of TV series off the back of this. But he's a TV actor looking up to Christopher Lee, a legend of the screen, and also obviously bringing a lot of class with him. And I think that's all some lovely kind of reality breaking through and really helping with the characters, so you can really help believe why he is so intimidated by Christopher Lee. So TCG, I've breezed past it. I'm sorry. In my enthusiasm for this film, I did ask you about your experience with it.
None. I had a very different assumption going into this movie. I have to say, I didn't realize that you'd actually strayed away from horror films and started focusing on musicals.
Little Shop of Horrors next. Woo!
Yeah, I can get behind that one.
I could, that is one of the movies that Poe recommended to us. We got her on first time. We asked, go on, favorite horrors, and Poe listed Little Shop of Horrors. I was like, I've got to see that.
We should do that. Have you not seen it?
I think I saw it when I was young, and it has dropped out of my memory.
Yeah. Same here.
Are we okay? Apparently, we're going with Ed Wood or Eddie Wood. I did this backstage, guys, but I'm going to torment you guys with it as well. Why does Edward Woodward have so many D's in his name? Otherwise, his name is Iwa Woo Woo. I know you had to suffer that already, Harry, and I couldn't resist it. That's an old one.
Henry Ebb's already got in there with that.
Oh, crap. Henry Ebb, you got in there before me.
How dare you?
Oh, dear. Sorry, you're too quick for me. The Henry Ebb. Oh, dear. Yeah, we could probably do that. So, there's some class stuff going on here. I mean, do you think it's interesting, like, I find it interesting that you were going in totally fresh. I mean, did you have like the meme knowledge of the ending?
No.
Wow.
No.
Okay. That's really interesting to me, because I often find myself over assuming familiarity with this stuff. Like often with Scream, like when we had Connor on last week and he said he hadn't seen Scream, I was very sort of, what? But that's essential.
Yeah, that but to be fair, that I'll say that is shocking, to be fair.
I didn't see
Because
Scream until I was on this. You know,
But you've seen it now.
that
true.
Haryan, that's always your USP. Is you come in with a fresh perspective on almost everything, and you have a reaction that is untainted by genre exposure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Connor's educated. You see.
Mm.
Fair.
I'm not even
fair.
joking. You know, I think sometimes I come in and like if you're aware of something has got a great pedigree, you're thinking, right, I've got to like this one. This is a good one. I don't want to look classless, you know.
Oh, I don't care. I still hold that David Lynch is a menace to cinema. So,
Haryan, no, just no. Oh, how can you do me like that? Yeah, so I like this idea sort of built in here that there's a kind of class violation as well. If you remember the second time Eddie Wood will go with Howie visits them, and he's just exhumed the body and found a hair in there, and Lord Summerisle is chilling with the librarian, and it's just super casual.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that's got a really interesting idea in it of just sort of I don't know how they would have interpreted it, but it's kind of degeneracy, like the idea that the class has broken down. Like this is Lord Summerisle, and he's kind of slumming with a functionary. What's he doing? Sort of sitting on the carpet, singing basically bawdy songs with her. Like he's trying to Howie, everything is broken down because he's coming from it expecting sort of the old order of Britain to be applied.
And alas, yeah, there is none.
I mean, I think Susan would have hated this screen cap, but I think Neil Mohan might appreciate the bobs in it, so I'll give it a go.
Oh no!
Nice.
You remember what he sees when he first visits Lord Summerisle?
Old men.
Now, I should specify for YouTube, no one is naked in this shot. They are all wearing bodysuits.
It was great knowing you, chap. This was a great run.
Are we still going? I think it's all right. I'm just going to be keeping monetization is on. We're okay. We've made it. And again, I stress, this becomes very obvious when you have the close-up that they are all in bodysuits. That are just skin coloured, so it's fine.
I mean, you can actually tell if you look at one of the girls on the bottom right. You can actually see that there is no distinct line down the middle, shall we say?
Yeah, definitely.
I didn't know that because I averted my eyes.
Oh, you innocent soul, you.
Yeah,
you're still at that stage where you won't even look at other women, will you?
No, why would I need to?
I see. Yeah, he's sweet, isn't he?
He is. It's an interesting one. Like this was one of the ones where they the script is telling you that they are much younger.
Oh,
but I think, to be honest, with the casting, they couldn't really. They're trying to sell you like these are quite young, like 14, 15 or something, like young girls entering maturity for the first time, and that's partly why Howie is so scandalized. But I can't say the casting really sold it, to be honest.
Change the picture now. I found all these. I'm not normally adverse to it, man, but I fear YouTube censorships. But mostly, I just found it all cringe, man. I found it all horrifically cringe.
You found it cringe?
Yeah, I didn't appreciate
naked women cringe.
It was just so bad.
Oh no!
It's like the bit when, when he was like thirst trapping, and he was like, that scene where she starts singing butt naked in her room, and he's in the other room, and they're both like pressed up against the wall.
Okay, to be fair, I did think that was cringe.
That was awful. Yeah. That was terrible, and there was also a small continuity error there because when he's pressed up against the wall, the ring that he's wearing is on his left hand, but then when he wakes up in the morning, it's on his right hand. I did
How do you know
notice
it? How do you know he didn't take it off to wank?
I would have. Do you know what? At that moment, I was expecting him to start like choking the chicken against the wall.
Ugh.
Sorry,
Well, just cut a glory hole in.
Oh, terrible.
don't. Oh, don't.
To
Try
be
your best
fair,
not to
if
look
he moved
pens in the eye.
To be fair, do you reckon if he moved the bed, there would have already been a glory hole there? I mean, it seems like that type of place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably. Would
Okay,
Ed would
hang
stick
on.
his wood in the woodwood?
Hang on. No. We've got to settle this. Right. There is a poll out there now. There is a poll, folks. We're going to settle this. This is one of the best scenes in the movie.
No. But no, there's a good question about the glory hole, and yeah, you should put in the poll. This is the question: Would Ed Wood put his wood in the wood through the wood?
Good question.
Disgraceful. So this scene didn't work for you?
No, it was awful. It was crap.
All right.
I mean, it was one of my least favorites. I
like the music, like the music beforehand. The music was all right. It's just when she started like going all hippy dippy, it was just like, grow up.
I mean, it was a bit odd that she was fine showing her boobs everywhere, and then this is knowledge from my dad. Apparently, when they did like a shot of the back of her, that was a different woman.
Right. Yes, true. It caused a bit of bad blood. I think she was not happy about that at all.
What about someone else being the woman? Being behind. All right, interesting.
She seems very annoyed about effectively that this woman just has a massive butt, and she thinks this.
Well, maybe she should grow her arse a bit bigger, you know.
Well, she's proud of her more petite butt, you know.
Yeah, but that doesn't sing to the camera exactly, does it?
Oh, I think there's also dispute over whether she is dubbed or not.
Oh yeah, I feel like she was.
She was dubbed. It's in the wiki.
Someone was hired for it, but the people dispute the record. Weirdly enough,
I mean, there's bits where it's blatantly obvious that it's not her. It's not her. Well, I mean, it might be her voice. I don't know, but there's definitely some post production work that's gone on there. It's like when he's sitting there, like it's when you're first introduced to her, just after the song where essentially everybody is just like thirsting over her. Again, cool song, but again, just hilarious. Like everyone's like, "Your daughter's fit, mate."
He loves it,
and she's like, "Yeah, I know," and he's like, "Yeah, I know." It's like, dude,
come on, how is this not a great scene?
It's a great song.
How is this not a great scene?
It's a great song. It's a great song. It's just hilarious on how everyone's like, whoa, and like you know, if they were doing that with my daughter, I'd smash some glasses over the rest. That's all I'm saying. Like, you know, calm down, you old perverts. That's what I'd be saying.
No, he loves it. He's absolutely up for it.
I know, and he's probably a degenerate dad himself, but you know, he's probably got Joseph Fitzel on speed dial, I imagine. But anyway, moving forward.
Oh no, I want to point out something about the scene because I loved it. I really enjoyed it, as well as Howie bringing massive Peter Hitchens energy to this whole scene. You notice the director throws in loads of Dutch angles in this, so that's a slanted camera. There are loads of them, but it's kind of to show that skewed vision. Things aren't what they're meant to be. And you also get the feel like they are putting on a play for him, effectively. They're obviously messing with him. And I love this. I'll also get a shot of the barman because I love this guy. I wanted to see so much more of him. He is an absolute icon. Come on, tell me you didn't love Sleazy Pete here.
I like Pete. Is his actual name Pete in the film?
No, that's just what I thought. He's just got this nice sort of debonair camp energy to him that I really loved.
Yeah, he was
again
like pervy old man, pervy dad. But you know what?
Yeah.
Funny.
Let's see. How's chat doing on this? We are going to go. I want to give chat the whole time to vote on this because maybe it's a different attitude. Chat is with me. Chat is with me on this one. Ah, fantastic. So I'll go back to it because this is important to talk about, I think. I can see it being a bit of a dividing line for people in whether this scene works or not. But so for hang on. Yeah, I think it is all ritual. If I'm going to criticize it, I'd probably say that they could have laid the ground for exactly what his role is a fair bit more, so that when he does the research, he comes across the idea of what the sacrifice should be. Because obviously you're meant to think Rowan has been sacrificed. It's this trail. I mean, it is kind of Hot Fuzz like. You're following a logical trail, and then you have the rug pulled out onto you. Now, Hot Fuzz does it in a clever way, making a real logical mystery, and then has a silly real answer. This has a disturbing real answer, but I think the idea of sacrificing the virgin, the Christian, the fool who'll be king for a day, I think that could have been set in a little bit more. You know, there are opportunities for people to mention, you know, that Christians make a powerful sacrifice, etc., etc. Or I don't know, if when he's kicking off about the amount of endless shagging happening on the island, if someone were to say something like, well, we don't have much use for virgins here unless there's a sacrifice, you know. Except something not crap that sounds like first-pass dialogue, but the idea of...
I want something better than my first draft, okay?
A virgin's a wonderful thing if you're making a massive sacrifice, but otherwise we don't have much use for them. Ha ha. It's a fun joke, but it would lay a bit of the groundwork. You know, I don't know if I'd go too much into that, but it would help for me. It's still a twist, but I like a little more groundwork on it. So, oh gosh, wait. So yeah, they are openly messing with him from the start. We see from the very beginning, Dom, that they do not respect him. They are trolling him. They are screwing with him. They are putting on a play. They're leading him down a rabbit hole because the idea is he has to think that he knows what's going on. And you see him breaking his own rules increasingly. You know, he's letter of the law. I am the policeman. I am the governor, to quote Britney Spears. And then he starts breaking it. You know, he ignores protocol to look at the school records. He kind of says, sod your religion, sod your pagan beliefs, and leaves a cross on the grave. He starts imposing his own morality in contravention to their belief. And then they do that to him. You know, they say that they're above the law, really, at the end, and he's kind of lost his moral position. But this scene, I think, is kind of crucial because this is a real temptation to him. I would show more, but there is extensive bobbage in this.
Like Bob and Bajine,
yeah.
Like he acts like such a dork throughout of it, though.
Oh, but sorry, I mean, I missed that a bit, but
I mean, I would just look if he. I mean, I get it, right? I get that he wanted a piece. Don't get me wrong, right?
He's only human.
He's only human, exactly. But I mean, if that was me, if she was banging on my wall, and I wasn't interested in that regard, I'd just bang on the wall back, be like, "Shut up! I'm trying to get some sleep."
Yeah, but he's conflicted. That's the point. He does want to bang on the wall,
and he chooses not to. So he should have banged on the wall and said, "Shut up, woman!"
He'd probably agree.
Should have done it sooner.
You're not okay.
2/3 victory for
humping the drywall.
Yeah, it is. I mean, for me, it's a powerful scene. Like, you're quite. I think if you can get into the general vibe of it, then you can go with something as weird and as usual as this. But this, this kind of cruel taunting of him, this inviting, I think is really interesting. And the fact that he does respond to it makes Sergeant Howie feel quite human to me. Oh no.
What?
Oh dear.
No, as I said, WCWI, he ended up just dry humping the drywall at the end, didn't he?
I think it's something we should ask. I mean, we have chosen to. I think we should hang on. Where we go? Let's go with this, because a few people have basically raised this point. Actually, Joe's got it. Actually, let's go with this. Joe's got it too. Loads of people have picked up on this. There is obviously real world aspects to this, but it's also explicitly highlighted in the film. But we're covering the. Oh, hang on.
We done.
We got some. I saw some good news. Marina, congrats on the job. Well done.
Hey.
Yeah, good win. Nice, proud of you. That's good news. We love a bit of good news around here. Right, so we are featuring The Wicker Man, not just because I've kind of been desperate to cover it for ages, but we're featuring it in this month, which is about Christian perspectives on horror.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the obvious one is like Haryan. You
Yes.
are a church respecter, average Jesus appreciator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly.
So
probably above average in the past. But go on.
So, how did you feel about that side of things in this film? We have when was the last time you saw a protagonist take communion? You know?
I've not seen Midnight Mass, but I imagine they do it in that. But
yes,
it's not often.
Quite a bit.
Unless it's like a properly religious film. It follows someone like Mother Teresa. So yeah, you rarely actually see anything like that. So because that only happens at the start, doesn't it? I don't remember it happening again.
Oh no, it's just at the start.
Yeah. Because I'm kind of wrapping my brain. What was the start? That wasn't on the island, was it? Because we're all pagan.
No. The start was just a service of him in church. Yeah. There were a couple of extra off-island scenes. Those are mostly lost. We lost a lot of scenes. There's a scene where he gets a massage from the barmaid's daughter, Willow, played by Britt Eklund. No. There's also, obviously, as we all noted, there's clearly a fight scene that's missing towards the end. Yeah. But I guess we'll get to that. We'll get to the end at the end of this. But I just wanted to focus on how you feel Christianity is represented in this. Do you feel it's
relatively
getting...
well? Yeah, okay. He certainly felt like a. It's like he's a God-fearing man, quite clearly, and he is the type, as you can see, to get that across to whoever he's talking to, and that's why I appreciated the conversations on theology, because from one side, we sacrifice people, we get really good bounties, and yet at the same time he's saying, well, my great grandfather or whatever came over with a new type of crop he wanted to try, and that's what it is. But it's confirmation bias. So we tried this thing, it works, so we carry on. We got to be thankful for something to someone. When he says, well, why not God? It's like, well, God didn't do us much good. This island was basically a desert until he came along with his ideas. So if he's right about that, why isn't he right about everything? He works for the rest of Britain. The whole country's Christian. Because this scene you've got now, when was this? I don't even remember this bit.
He's visited Lord Summerisle.
Yeah.
And he's got permission to go and exhume, so he goes and checks on the grave and he finds a woman.
Yeah.
I might be confused. He might see the woman naked and on the grave now. Mm-hmm. But he certainly sees a woman breastfeeding and holding an egg right there. And it's that feeling of profanity. You've obviously got pews and a lectern just sort of very casually tossed aside there.
Yeah. Which is weird because I would have thought someone would have nicked that.
Well, they've just got no use for it. It's obviously like the island was Christian, but Christianity left and it faded out, and then the island lost a bit of energy, and then the grandfather of Lord Summerisle comes in and gives it a new fervour, but obviously not of Christianity, of the old religion, as he says, but and people take to it, and that is, you can read that a couple of interesting ways. Are they responding to something that has vitality and passion in it, in contrast to a kind of Christianity that I think we can fairly say is presented as somewhat rigid, somewhat repressed? Or would you say that they're responding to it because their Lord, who is meant to be keeping them in check, has basically given them license to be absolute thoughts, just going to town outside the pub? What do you reckon?
Well, I mean, I think any human will take advantage of that if they're given a reason to.
It's tricky because I don't think it spells it out, does it?
Yeah. Well, the Islanders clearly enjoy what they're doing and they feel justified in doing it. So you might be right on that level, but it's kind of, does Lord Salisbury really believe what he says? That's kind of harder.
Summerisle.
What did I say?
Salisbury. You called him Summerfield as well. I've got to get in before you calling him Sainsbury's and Morrison's.
Well, I'm going to purposefully get him wrong every time now. So Lord Sainsbury's.
Lord Asda.
It's hard to.
That Lord Sainsbury is also not Christian. I can.
Lord Little.
Yeah, he's got. Does he believe what he's
what
he's spouting? No, Summerfield. Lord Midsummer. I don't know. You tell me. Does he believe what he spouts? It's kind of hard to say. My interpretation is probably he does. And if he doesn't, he's very good at acting like that. You can tell that Edward Woodward, he clearly is a God-fearing man, and he is putting forward the argument every time. But it's not great arguments every time. It's like you got to believe in God. This is a Christian country. It's like, well, they're not going to care.
I don't think he necessarily is allowed to make the case very well. But I think he's just shocked by what he sees. Yeah, of course, who was it in the chat who... damn it, I shouldn't have mentioned it.
Lord Summerfield, amazing.
Damn it. Okay. I think let's be honest. In a 93-minute movie, I don't think we want a deep theological debate, because I think, frankly...
No. You got to end, it needs to be some entertainment.
There's also just, it's, guys, you've heard me say this in other videos, but it's never a debate. The clash of ideas is always one writer deciding who wins. It's it's the appearance of a debate, but you're not exactly ever going to settle it, and you'll see the writer's bias come through. Like, the best you can hope for is that there's a decent representation of both sides. But anyway, yeah, he comes in, he just make the best representation of it. Sorry, the best defense of it. But he is just shocked, you see.
Yeah.
At so much. I mean, when he goes into the schools, that scene has just got so much relevance now.
Yeah. Well, that jumped to my mind too. Very, very drag queen, etc.
That honestly, that thing of him going in and saying, like, I can't believe they're talking about the phallic symbol, and then it's oh gosh, oh mate, if you saw an SRE class today, my word, hoo-wee, jeez.
Yeah,
you have to wait for the second film on a Channel 5 on a Friday night for half the stuff they cover in SRE now. Goodness me.
Please stop depressing me.
Yeah. I'll throw it. Actually, sorry, just a second. Marina, no, you have not. My plan is, I thought it's probably going to be a weekend stream, and my plan for that was I was going to try and do a live commentary for it, which may be the best idea I've had, or an absolutely terrible one. But I think I'm going to give it a go. But I'll probably do that at the end of the month. So, no, you have not missed it, and I will give plenty of warning for it. But for everyone else, just saying, make sure you have a copy of Pet Sematary ready so you can do a watch along. Anyway, sorry.
Nice.
TCG. I know yourself. You like the old Christianity. It's not for you in particular, and that's absolutely fine. We like a range of perspectives. God,
it's gotta be
that sounded like I
Christian,
was
screw
in.
you.
That does sound like I work in HR, doesn't it? Jesus. How did you feel Christianity was presented in this TCG? What do you reckon?
I feel like it was, I wouldn't say negatively, but I would say that there was probably room for improvement. Like I said, I mean, the vibe I got from the police officer throughout the film was that he was kind of less interested. Well, I mean, obviously he was doing the investigation for a missing girl, fair enough. But I mean, he was more interested at times, like actually moral policing the residents of the island. It's tricky for me because, like, I mean, like you say, I mean, they have their conversation piece at one point, so they both get their points across, and you know, of course, it's not a debate either. I completely agree. But yeah, I think I'll be honest. It's hard for me to put my finger in on whether it was positive or negative. I think there was some sort of moral grandstanding in favor of Christianity. I would say that.
As I should be.
Well, I mean, here's the thing: you're dealing with like an old covenant style of religion or you know, practicing or whatever. Whereas obviously Christianity, especially the new covenant, you know, is very much the more modern of the two practices. So of course there's going to be a bit more progression, a bit more sort of like, you know, turning your nose up at the old ways. So of course, you know, you were going to sort of expect that. So yeah, I don't think it was negative, but I do feel like sometimes that the police officer was somewhat overly critical, more critical than he needed to be at times, unless of course, you know, it was relevant to the investigation. Like obviously when he realizes, oh my god, they're going to plan a sacrifice, of course then at that point you can sort of question their wacky kooky ways, but
that's fair enough.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, okay, if you want to, if you think Christianity is getting absolutely teabagged because basically Sergeant Howie gets loads of things pointed out to him that seem like hypocrisy. So the whole the parthenogenesis bit, you know, he's complaining about believing in the ritual to be impregnated by the spirit of the fire, and then Lord Summerisle has got a very obvious retort to that: is, well, don't you believe Mary was impregnated by a spirit too?
I did chuckle at that.
There's a couple of slightly Reddity dunks in there. You know?
I was gonna call that a Reddit dunk.
No, of course, absolutely. But then
should we get a fedora? But on the other hand, you know, in this, I mean, genuinely, there's some balance here. The pagans are going to sacrifice him, so you know
he's not wrong. But I think you know it's just one of those. It's one of those conversations where you know you're going to find holes in both sides, because when you're dealing with faith-based situations, you know you're not dealing with evidence, and so of course there's always going to be there's always going to be critiques to have and holes to to identify and sort of like and to poke at. You know, it's not a science, it's faith. And when you're arguing faith with someone who is also arguing faith, well, as I say, there's no proof. So you're never going to have a definitive right answer. The only way you're going to know is when you pop your clogs and you find out whether you were right or whether South Park were right in saying that it was actually the
It was
Mormons.
the Mormons. Yeah. I would also say that I do feel maybe if there's any pagans in the chat, you might disagree with me. I think Lord Summerisle's maybe let's just say followers. Let's go with a slightly more neutral word.
Is cult.
I was trying to avoid cult. I was trying to avoid it. So I was wondering, does it meet the requirements? But they're treated a lot nicer than they were in a lot of horror films. So if we compare, say, Michael Winner's The Devils, or especially something like Blood on Satan's Claw, with that sort of the idea of moving away from Christianity, you're going to like go straight into what's in YouTube language, let's say intimately wrestling in a somewhat intimately group wrestling someone inside an old convent, you know. It's so this I think does, in a way, you know, obviously I'm a Christian, I go to church, so you might think this sounds a bit weird coming from me. There is something appealing about Lord Summerisle's, like, getting a community together that is so bound by something together, something so vital. I mean, the pub scene for me is like this amazing demonstration of that.
Yeah, I enjoyed the pub scene.
I mean, here's the thing, right? I think, you know, if they weren't doing the whole human sacrifice thing, that would actually be quite a wholesome community.
Yeah,
a bit weird. I mean, I say wholesome in the sense that, you know, everyone has sort of like, you know, a purpose and a clear, you know, sort of like a clear goal on how to advance the community. Might be a bit degenerate in some places, but overall, you know, no major harm. I would say. I mean,
total breakdown of society. Look at it. People shagging in the streets, kids having no innocence.
Yeah, but look at the pubs, mate. The pubs are full. People are smoking inside them. They're all happy and jolly. You know,
be honest. Would you want to go to this pub?
I would love nothing more than
they're having a
hoot.
I bet if you got a Toblerone from here, there'd be nice thick triangles right up against each other. None of this, you know, massive gap between the like they were trying to do social distancing. No, that'd be a proper Toblerone back then.
I mean, sure, the walk home might be a bit bonky. You know, you might have to watch where you walk in case you step on like body
parts. It was a bit of ether, wasn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But you know what? That's the kind of atmosphere that you don't see every day now inside the pub. I mean, like, look at that. That's vibes, man. That's vibes.
It really is. I mean, this is, guys. You've heard me say this so many times, but the value of watching something like this is the look into the past and just seeing, like, crikey, this is what a pub was like. And it's just kind of amazing seeing the old chemist that also doubles as the photo developer. I love it. I love these little peeks at things, the way the school is laid out, you know. I love seeing that sort of stuff. It just always makes it so much, you just get so much more from it. I guess the other side on the Christian angle on this, as well as it being like really nice seeing someone who's like strongly of the faith, which you'd think like, you know, it's not that unusual. Certainly not back then. You'd expect a few more of them to be very clearly the protagonists, you know. But it's nice to see it. But I can also, I mean, Harry, and tell me if I'm sounding mad here, but the idea of you can feel like a bit of a loner with it. Like you can feel like the society is really not where you are as a Christian.
What do you mean?
Well, so like Sergeant Howie's on the album. Crikey, my brain is messed up. He's on the island and he's just a fish out of water.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very clear sort of culture that does not go along with him, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And he's got these very old, stricter standards that is restraining, and he's very sort of out of place. Now, obviously, in this one, it's meant to be the old ways. Obviously, in our time, it's more modern attitudes that are very different, but that sort of feeling of, you're culturally somewhat out of place is quite interesting to see represented. I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah. I'm not sure how it particularly relates to Christianity. Really, that just seems like a universal thing. That seemed less a religious part and more of a. I mean, this is why I called it very hot fuzz, because it was really. It's a man going somewhere he's not used to, or doesn't know any of the customs of, say, and then finding out that that's because they're all freaks, essentially. Which is universal, and that's why Hot Fuzz did it. In terms of Christianity, though, I don't know. I don't know if it's necessarily a religious point, to be honest.
Okay,
that's my take, anyway. Yeah,
for me, it seemed like he is obviously there as a Christian, and it is his Christian values that were keeping him were a major part of keeping him separate. But okay.
I mean, well, it's as you say at the beginning, they were being odd with him anyway. So I don't necessarily know if that's true, but I can be. I mean, I'm open-minded to it. So there's that.
Yeah. Fair play.
There you go.
I do want to say here, I just noticed, because this doesn't show up in the StreamYard end, so forgive me for taking a while to see it, but the Enrieb gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much. It's much appreciated.
Oh,
and you're an absolute star gifting those memberships. It's I really appreciate it. And for everyone who's received a membership, make sure to pass the Enrieb your thanks there when you're able to watch the exclusive content tomorrow. Then you can thank him. I was trying to see if everyone has said it already, but that's really helpful. That's grand. All right, lovely stuff. Well, very conscious of Super Nanny's requirements. Oh, hang on now, I have to mention this. I'm torn.
I need to go back and see that film. It's been years since I watched that.
Yeah.
That's another film I've not seen.
It is good.
Oh man, you've got a treat ahead of you. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one, but I'm not going to argue with you. No, American Werewolf in London is an absolute treat for the ages.
If there's one thing that I'm very very soft on when it comes to horror films, it is werewolf transformations. When they like the whole transformation, like it doesn't even have to be horror films. I mean, what was there? Was it Teen Wolf that Michael J. Fox was in?
I was a teenage werewolf.
That's it. Yeah, I mean the transformation scenes and that are just brilliant, and like it's no different from what I can remember, like American Werewolf in London, American Werewolf in Paris. I just love a good old werewolf transformation.
Hang on. Yeah, it's a absolute beauty. I just want to pick up on something here. I'm hoping people aren't thinking we're being harsh here. I know I sound like I'm in HR, but I do try and be balanced. But I think there is a legitimate. I'd agree with you. I think there is a legitimate reading of that. There is something about, as I said, Sergeant Howie comes on officially neutral, but he does break his neutrality, and it becomes clear, like, yes, he absolutely cares for Rowan. He becomes determined to do whatever it is to save her, but he's also breaking the law. He's also imposing his own values. And once he's done that, it does become a question of, why shouldn't this group do their own thing? They are trying to preserve their own way of life. And you could even say that given that the island was a state before, that they are right to continue what they're doing to keep it revitalized. And I think that's supported by the reading. Actually, if we're talking about this right now, we might as well. For me, one of the most important things, apart from Willow tempting him, idea of that last temptation. It is tempting him. She's knocking on the door. She's
She's singing a serenade to him.
Yeah, exactly. Mate. It's his last temptation.
She should have just gone in there and been like, "Go on."
All right, hang on. This is really important, right? This is at the end before the burning. This is so important because we're talking about this as a balanced film, right? And let's see if we can make that bit bigger. Said Willow to the 18-year-old. Did you notice the quality of the film in that? Where it was that was one of those reintroduced scenes where Lord Summerisle's talking about the snails.
Oh right, yeah.
That was one of the reintroduced scenes, and you could tell from just like the amount of noise and low quality on it, unfortunately. But
sorry.
Dear. Okay.
Samurai Alexei means Samurai Alexei.
I like that. Good one. All right, so like this is so crucial. The question is asked because we don't know if the sacrifice works or not. That is never clarified, and we do not get an official sequel, so we will never have a clarification, but it comes down to it. A kind of interesting thing of, at this point, Sergeant Howie has been captured, he's been beaten, and he's challenging Lord Summerisle. He's saying, like, if you're sacrificing me, it's got nothing to do with the gods, which is kind of interesting to see him drop the faith perspective just for a moment. He tries to just reason with Lord Summerisle. He says, you'll sacrifice me, and if it doesn't work, what are you going to do? They'll sacrifice you. And Lord Summerisle first says, no, the sacrifice, we're doing it right, it'll be accepted. And then he just argues, like, forcefully, the crops, they will not fail. But there's a bit of fear. It's a really delicate delivery by Christopher Lee. And I bet they must have taken so many takes of it to choose the right one. But it leaves it so ambiguous. Because I think for a moment, he does start to worry.
I agree. I agree. The crops will not fail. And it was kind of like, it was almost like he was trying to convince himself of his assurance of it.
Totally.
Yeah, I completely agree. You could definitely sense that.
Oh yeah. He was a worried man.
Yeah,
to say the least.
I'm trying to think of an equivalent, but that crack in the facade, like that was the real. That was more effective than punching him, than like pulling out a pistol and shooting him. That put. I mean, I want to say the fear of God, which is probably not not the best phrase to use, but I just love that vulnerability. Oh, yeah, I absolutely love it. Well, we should also talk about something else at this point that we noticed, and it wasn't. I went and checked because I was worried it was just me, but you all agreed, which was great. Sometimes I worry, is like, am I missing something? Where is it? Where's my lad? Do you want to just recap us where we are at this point, just for everyone, or are we trusting people to keep up?
I mean, just for a quick recap, he's bruised because there's a missing fight scene.
Mm. Yeah, this is the thing we complained about. So, Howie can't get off the island. He's done a massive frantic search all over for Rowan, and people are they're just trolling him. And the scene becomes weirdly funny, like a kid pretends to be dead in a cupboard. I thought it was just a random woman, but apparently it is Ingrid Pitt. Just is walked in the bath, and she's like obviously.
Oh, that turned into a comedy scene, didn't it? I mean,
yeah. Oh, I want to.
It's like the other one where he opens that wardrobe and the little girl falls out of bed, and then he sort of looks down at her and sort of the camera sort of pans for a moment, and then you just sort of see her look and then smile and run off.
I got it. Yeah, I was looking for the reference. I was going to say it's like a Robin Asquith film, Confessions of a Police Investigator, which I'm hoping a few people recognise, because that is a very dated reference. Robin Asquith was a guy in a whole bunch of like sub-carry-on British sexy comedies. You know, you'd see a bit of Bubbins. They're like Confessions of a Window Cleaner, Confessions of a Driving Instructor. Very sub-carry-on stuff, to be honest. So he's gone over. He's desperate. He's hunting. It's not working. He's got the feeling they're going to sacrifice her now, so he needs to get her out. And so he sees his opportunity. He has done his research, and he reckons he'll sneak into the parade as Punch, and then he'll be able to work it out. So he knocks out the wonderfully camp barman and dons the costume. Oh, it's great. But when he next takes his mask off, he's beaten and bruised.
Yeah.
And you're like, when did you get beaten and bruised? When did that happen? Nothing we see explains why he's beaten and bruised at this point.
The only thing I can think of to explain it is that he's dressed as Punch. But yeah, no, it is a bit of a glaring continuity error.
Yeah. I mean, as we opened this talking about how many weird recuts there were. You know, we had the theatrical version, then one with 2 more minutes. Then we got this, and we know there's a 99-minute version that was sent to Roger Corman. You know, I think they just lost a scene. There were a whole bunch of them. The musician guy who did everything for this said there was a whole load more that he did music for that just never turned up. So I think we obviously lost a bit. I mean, I wonder maybe if he had a fight in the cave or something.
Well, he
because
must
a few
have done,
people follow him into that. By the way, those cave scenes not shot in Scotland; they were shot in Somerset in Wookey Hole.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Then my next true crime story is going to be taking place in Somerset.
Oh, way!
Just so you know.
Was it in Wookey Hole?
It wasn't. It was in Barrow.
Ooh. Okay.
Just throwing that out there.
No worries. It was. What do we reckon, Bilbo? Is that true? No. I think there was probably they go into the caves and they're followed by a bunch of people, and I like to think maybe he had a quick bust up with them, and that's why he's a bit beaten, he's a bit bruised, but otherwise we have no explanation for why he's like that. Anyway, you know, people are talking about Ingrid Pitt so we should probably mention her a bit. I feel like I'm still weak on Hammer Horror, partially because there's so much of it. But there's an interesting thing about how she got in it, because she came into this last minute, really. But she'd heard they were making it and basically rushed to say, look, have you got any parts? Have you got any parts? Like instantly went over to the director in London. I don't sound sinister, but I don't know, rush over to the producer's flat, and then suddenly you got a part. I don't know. Maybe they're good friends. I don't know. Maybe
What are
I'm
you,
paranoid.
what are you saying?
Nothing. I mean, I genuinely don't want to impugn anything. It just seemed a bit weird. But anyway, she got the part. She turns up. She brings, like Christopher Lee, she brings a whole load of pedigree to it. She's a veteran of Hammer horror. When we start doing Hammer horror, you guys will see a lot of her. And read into that as you wish.
I'm reading.
Maybe I will.
So yeah, it's good to see her in this. She's got a small role, but it's fun and it's nice to see the pedigree there. Yes. Where was I going to go with this? I also noticed that someone else recognised the Robin Asquith reference. Thank you, the NREB. I thought I was going to be alone on that one. Anyone else? Lala Lucas, you recognise it as well. That's the beauty of this internet. I can throw out the most weird, obscure references and someone's already got there. That's wonderful. All right. So, I mean, at this point, I guess maybe we just move straight on to the end, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much there. It was a very weird section.
Yeah.
That is my take. That is my weird and wild take, fellas.
I will leave out the discussion of this as a pro-life reading. If you are interested in The Wicker Man being read as with a pro-life message, which may be unintended, but there is a heck of a lot to support it, watch my video, Abortion Messages in Horror. It is, I stress, a very balanced video. But we won't repeat ourselves here because we are wary of Super Nanny. But yeah, this is iconic. TCG, how did you feel when they turned and took him to be sacrificed? Like, how did you feel about this?
How did it make you feel?
How did it make me feel? I didn't really feel much, to be honest.
Do you feel anything, you mollusk?
No. I've seen worse.
In
the job that I do.
You see,
to be fair, I was kind of like waiting for some sort of like Deus Ex Machina moment to occur, to save the day, and I understand that there were a few suggestions from the from those financing the film that should be the case.
Always ignore the financiers.
Yeah, I do you know what? I was kind of satisfied in a way with the way that it ended, because there's not. I mean, especially I imagine, especially during this time, there couldn't have been many sort of horror movies where the antagonists win.
Oh gosh, I'm tempted to comment, but it would be a spoiler.
Okay.
I
just feel like it's more prevalent in movies sort of today.
Yeah,
where they get to do, certainly like in comparison to the old days, because
there are very few, but I will mention as a point of interest. If you don't mind spoilers, folks. This you can look up the film that this was packaged with as a double feature. I'm so I don't want to say it, because if I say it, I'm instantly like, "Hey guys, the bad guy wins." How do you even talk about this? Okay, let's just say, as an oddity, it was released as a double feature with a film that has a similar hunt for a missing girl and bad guy wins ending. But
boo.
if you are super wary of any spoilers whatsoever, I don't know, just look it up. I have no way of talking about the John, not that one. It wasn't that one. Gosh. Guys, shall I just spoil a film from 1973. Shall I just do that?
Yeah, why not?
All right. It was released as a double bill with Don't Look Now by Nicholas Roeg and
Right.
the wonderful Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie. Of course, we are Donald Sutherland respecters on this channel because 3 years later he would go into our wonderful Invasion of the Body Snatchers. In fact, wait, no, 6 years later.
Yeah,
Very
I mean,
misinformation.
yeah, and I suppose that film as well has the antagonists get one up, but yeah, it felt like it, you know, especially at that sort of time, that while it wasn't, it just happened a lot rarer, I think, just from what I've seen. You know, the good guys overcoming the struggle to defeat the bad guy. It would have taken a massive Deus Ex Machina at that point to get him away from that point. I think one of the things that you said that was suggested was that the police turn up right at the last moment, and it's just like, how on earth would they have been able to?
Oh, that's
to get the message out, given the fact that his plane wasn't working because it had been sabotaged, so he had no way of communicating to the mainland. There was no way he could have done it unless he was like, I phoned them while I contacted them while I was in, something stupid that happens off screen that just gets exported back in the.
I used my emergency bat weather balloon to signal them.
yeah.
On this rewatch, I was wondering, like, I was sometimes thinking the pacing gets a little slow here, and I wondered, wait, is the pacing there to make you think it's giving time for a rescue? Because you could go a lot quicker with it, but yeah, I wondered if they were baiting. I mean, obviously, all our expectations are you're gonna get a happy ending.
Yeah,
you know?
Joe says the happy ending is the crops were marvelous.
Oh,
there you go, perfect.
There you go. Christianity
wonderful.
debunked. Paganism is paganism the way.
Oh, not in...
Debunking.
No. Yeah, it's
Could have summoned the cops using smoke signals from the burning Wicker Man.
Here's the thing: he did actually call them from the phone, but police response time. They're Twitter to police. Someone sent a mean tweet. Otherwise, they'd have got there in time.
Yeah, and Twitter didn't exist back then, so it would have taken them a while.
I'm just wondering if you two spent a lot of the movie, like, because you went in fresh. If you're like, why is it called The Wicker Man?
Yeah, I didn't think of it too much at the time, but yeah, I mean, if you know, I would love to know.
Because, like, Backdoor Sluts 9, I had a good inkling.
Great film, yeah.
This one, we're all South Park references today, guys. We are all South Park references. Sorry. Sorry, Harry, and you're saying?
No, just that Backdoor Sluts 9 is a great film. That's all I was saying.
It's true.
Yeah. It wasn't that important.
Oh dear. Yeah, I mean, how realistic the idea of this sacrifice is I think quite disputed. But then, as we've said, this is a bastardized form of paganism, which is itself probably the kind of Gardnerian. Actually, no, I don't think they used Gardner as reference. They used a book called The Golden Bough, is where they drew a lot of their inspiration from. But the idea that it's an English lord who goes up there and kind of takes a hodgepodge of things makes sense for why there's maybe a lack of authenticity, but absolutely cracking vision. I mean, this is just unforgettable. I'd also point out Edward Woodward didn't see this until he was taken up there. Like, he was offered the chance, but he wanted the surprise.
I suppose, yeah. I suppose the question that everyone was asking at that moment was, would Edward Woodward burn in the wood?
Oh, dear.
I refuse to laugh at that.
Oh, dear.
You've ruined my day.
Dear.
I'm never.
I make no apologies.
Yeah, we do
I
not
see an opportunity, I go for it. I appreciate not every one of them are going to land, but you know what? What would
We
Edward
don't
want to do?
apologise for bad jokes on this channel. We fully embrace them.
Well, maybe you should.
Mm. Yeah, it's
Just saying.
it's just so wonderfully dissonant. I mean, to remind, we know this, but let's just emphasize a point again. This is not how a horror film ends. This isn't how it's. You're meant to have a defeat. It's of the bad guy. You're meant to get that justification. The fact that it ends with him just absolutely terrified and everyone else treats it as happy. Actually, that's a point I meant to make earlier and I completely forgot. Do you guys remember it feeling a little bit weird when Sergeant Howie arrives on the island and they're singing this nice country song about cornfields and barley? You remember that?
Yeah, that felt
Right, it's
really
just
out
at
of
the
place.
start. It's quite a
Yeah.
jaunty one. And this is playing, it's kind of a romantic harvest song, little hint of, rolling the hay to it, right? And it's jaunty. It's like, hi, I'm here for this girl who might have been murdered. And that jaunty song plays all the way through. And you're like, that's so weird. But on the rewatch, I was thinking, actually, no, that makes sense. Like, this was never about a missing girl. This is about the harvest. It was setting you up for that there was subterfuge. Was that too much of a reach?
Well, what do you mean by setting up for subterfuge? Like, how?
Well, kind of the fact that you haven't got the typical thriller music, the sort of tense, the sort of set it up to sound a bit sinister. It's sort of, no, it's playing a song about the harvest, and it's playing about the harvest because that's what this is all about. It's not about a missing girl. They know where she is.
That's a good point.
Also, how about this? Look, guys. What does he do? He goes to the sister. What's he doing? He's talking to the sister, trying to get information. He's literally trying to fill the picture in, right? Huh?
Oh my god, that's great.
Right?
I like that one. I don't think that's a reach. Yeah, I think from my perspective, my favorite one that might be a reach is, when he opens a desk and it's just a nail with a piece of string tied to a beetle, and the girl's like, "Oh, the beetle just runs round and round and round until in the end, it basically dies because all it can do is hug the thing." And he's like, "Why would you do that?" And she just goes, "Oh, it's fun." Yeah, that's kind of that's what he's doing. As soon as he gets on that island, he's screwed.
I'm so glad you picked that up. Yeah, they got him. I mean, you could say he had a way out, and his way out. Well, how can I put it? His way out was a way in, if you get me.
Giggity.
Giggity.
Oh yeah. It was unironically a giggity as well. Incredible.
He was tested. And people are making the important point there that, there's kind of a conflict. As we said, the conflict of whether the sacrifice works or not. But he goes out fervently, earnestly praying. It's not played for a laugh. It's played as deadly serious. The pagans get their sacrifice and he gets martyred. I know a bunch of you said it. Where's the gay reading? He gets packed into a big stiff man. What do you need? What more do you need from me, Fez?
The geezer's name is Edward Woodward. How much wood does that man need in his life?
Come on, guys. You should be able to do your own spurious homosexual inferences by now. This is what I train you to do. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting one. Like I say, this is subtle. It doesn't condemn Christians. It doesn't condemn pagans, but it throws it in a clash, and they kind of both get their own sacrifices. Oh, hang on. I really like this one. Yeah, very true. An inversion of horror. The guy comes in and he very much is the outsider in this. He is The evil influence. I Am Legend is a great reference point for that. Very true. Very true. Of course, they're all monsters to him eventually as he sees. Yeah.
Nice.
I think people are liking the reading. Oh, it's
Yeah,
got
yeah.
even better. Yeah, he's
What?
literally flaming. Yes. It's gay readings all the way down.
God damn
Oh,
it.
no.
No more gay readings. Ugh.
Oh,
Why
I
are you
can't
doing
help
this
it.
to me?
It's been a while, Harry, and I've missed you. I had to save it up, I had to save it. Also, you did mention you didn't see Midnight Mass. We reviewed that last week with
I did see
a boy
that, yeah.
Connor Tomlinson. I hope we persuade. Well, obviously, if you watch, we spoiled the whole thing for you. So, but I hope you still watch.
Yeah, I didn't watch it because I want to watch Midnight Mass before.
Oh, wonderful,
yeah.
wonderful. I kind of
Before
feel though
anything.
you're sort of. I don't know if you'd agree with me or not. I feel like you're in the post-spoiler generation, or we're all a bit post-spoiler. As in, we will happily watch the deep deconstruction first, and then the movie is kind of optional afterwards.
Well,
Yeah, not with Scream 6 though, I have to say.
No,
I'm actively staying away from anything related to that.
I've not seen anything Scream 6 related, so
good. I will say nothing, but if you, like TCG, are on your way to seeing Scream 6 soon, I did a full emergency stream on it with a spoiler section and a spoiler-free section at the start and a full spoiler section afterwards with all the gory details. And you
Nice.
can watch that. I know, right? Isn't that good? Oh, I'm so uncomfortable shilling.
go
That
watch
was weird.
Proper Horror Show. Otherwise, the terrorists win.
That was a fun one, though. That was a classic. I said I would go for an hour, and I did 90 minutes, and I thought, I don't think I can blame guests anymore. It's all me. I'm the problem. It's me.
It was always you.
Hang on. Okay. Fez, we're going to have... Fez, message me. I want to understand this. We can't drop any spoilers on the stream, but I want to hear from you in a message about why that is. That is an interesting interpretation.
Is Scream 6 out?
Yeah, came out on
certainly,
Wednesday. Yeah, last Wednesday.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
well and right over me. Jeez. I better go see it. I better give it a skip.
I don't know.
It sounds worse than Last Jedi.
Depends what you're after. To be honest. If you want...
I just want to see a good film, to be honest.
If you just...
I just want to see a good film, to be honest.
If you just want to see a good film, I can highly recommend,
Anything
Triangle,
else?
2009, from British director Christopher Smith, or Angel Heart, which I think is mid-80s. I rewatched that recently. I absolutely loved it.
What about Mulholland Drive? Would you say that's a good film?
It's perfection, Although Harry turned me round, and I think actually Lost Highway might be the better one. But I'm torn. I got emotionally affected by Mulholland Drive a lot more.
He's a menace to cinema.
I think we're possibly going a tad astray.
Okay.
Just a little bit. Well, we've... where's my lad? There we go. I mean, any more thoughts on this, on the guy going out just screaming, saying, "Oh God, oh Jesus Christ"?
I was a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I think it was... It's one of those low-stakes horror films where really, if this is the ending to what essentially was a film about a missing person at first and people being a bit weird, it's kind of like, this is about the level I'd expect, and it's still absolutely horrifying to be so completely socially isolated, and then you get burned, to death. Like, I mean, if you get burned, it probably is to death, obviously, but yeah. I quite enjoyed it. Not as in, I enjoy watching people burn, as in it was a good film.
Yeah. If they made it
And then
today,
they-
I mean, I'll admit, I haven't seen the remake, but
You've
I
not
imagine
seen the bees.
no, I imagine you would get a shot inside, and you would see him. You'd see the flesh peeling. You'd have a bit of a Silent Hill moment, seeing him actually physically burn. And I think this has this kind of restraint to it that makes it more chilling.
Yeah, it's a lot more subtle, I'd say.
And that it's just so upsetting, unsettling, that the islanders just dance around and they're merry. It's so dissonant. How he at the end, like he went in with absolute certainty, and you just see him as a man broken down and just absolute. He's kind of like borderline spiritually defeated. Like he keeps his faith, but his whole identity is just broken down to nothing until he really does only have that one thing left at the end that he holds on to.
Yeah, it's a bit grim, to put it polite, to put it nicely. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. How about yourself, TCG? Any final thoughts on this end scene?
Yeah, it was all right.
Oh my god!
Absolutely. It's that moment of restraint. If you remember Witchfinder General, it pulled away. It showed us a fair amount in the burning, but it did pull away.
It was practicing the pull-out technique pretty skillfully, if you ask me.
Bruh. Which is weird for a culture that don't practice the pull-out game.
Yeah.
Ejaculated by serpent, I believe, was a quote from this film.
It's on the
one of the coffins. Not coffins, one of the tombstones.
It is. I'm going to try and get a special
And
thing
he reads
as
it
well.
out, man. It's just when he reads it out, it's like, ejaculated by serpent.
Oh, am I going to be able to find it? No. I'm never going to be able to find it in time. Do you remember in the chemist, there's just a massive jar of dried foreskins?
Oh my god, yes.
Was
Fudge,
there?
no. Yeah, there was.
Hang on, I'm working on it. Where is it? Oh, it's a nightmare
Grim.
to try and find. Oh, no, it's not happening. The chemist with its...
a lot of my Hebrews sharing too much with their pagan brethren.
I can't find it, sorry. Oh, I think I might have it. You know what? To be honest, folks, look it up in your own time. Oh, dear. I'm not putting that on YouTube. Can you... I really would love to know what the props department did for that, to be honest. Just pop down the local and say...
Synagogue, yeah.
Not that, just like... I was thinking like down the local pub and be like, look, can I get about 24 packs of pork scratchings, please? Oh, dear. It's that silly part of the stream, folks. Well, at this point, I'd probably say, we try and be focused. We try and be focused. So I would say probably move on to closing thoughts and scores, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, I'll back this up in short. I thought this film was all right. There was some musical scores, especially at the beginning, that were a bit weird. But yeah, I quite liked it, actually. It wasn't what I expected. I certainly wasn't expecting it to be a musical of sorts, so that was weird, but it worked. Some clean tunes, I must say. I'd probably give it like an 8 burgers. One of them flaming hot grill burgers, though.
Oh yeah,
on the actual grill, which
yum.
Yeah, proper tasty. That's me. Yeah, simple.
All right.
Nice.
Eight. Okay.
Yeah, I'd say that.
Okay. I get that it is a very unusual vibe. It's a check for me because I come into this biased, very very biased. So it's always interesting to hear other ones. Okay, eight flame grilled. All right. How about you? Oh, hang on. I will need to do mine next.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Wait,
Well,
have I missed
no.
something?
Let's do Harrian. Harrian, would you like to do your closing thoughts and score? And let's try and see it in the chat, folks. I know some of you posted it earlier, but oh, good, you're getting your scores in. Thank you very much.
Yes. So this I thought this was a very competently made film. I think I did watch the extended one, which did have a few extra scenes, which I kind of want to see the original now. I want to see if they did cut out a lot of the chaff, because there was way more boob in it than there needed to be quite honest. Especially with, as TCG says, that scene with the singing and the temptation. It didn't need to be 3 minutes long of a woman with her baps out singing, and then like knocking on a wall. It could have been easily like the focus needs to be more on him as well. Rather, it just seemed like, oh, we got the contract. This woman will get her tits out. Let's get our money's worth, for lack of a better term. So, yeah, that's one criticism. But then, I mean, there's not too much more to criticize, really. It's, you know, the story's competent, the backstory as well. The story of the island especially is quite well-rounded, which I do really appreciate. How did we get to this point? Well, here's exactly how, in probably more detail than you need, but that's always something I appreciate with Lord Simpson, or whatever he was called. And then, yeah, it's all leading up. It's the twist at the end as well. Just couldn't. I did very much enjoy it. I could see it coming a mile off. It was somewhat telegraphed, but you had to be looking out for the telegraphing of it. And also, you got a big Wicker Man. Where's the Wicker Man? I know someone gets burned in it. It's got to be him. So that also made me think that it was going to be a twist. But to have him painfully go like that, almost what's the word? It's futile. Everything he does is futile, and then he's in the cage, and then he's singing to God, hoping for the best, and that ain't gonna happen in all likelihood. So very much enjoyed that, and the chase along the way, and clearly a lot of thought had been put into how these islanders should act and how the May Day festival should go. From what I understand, was a pretty good and accurate May Day, but I'm not entirely sure on that front. I'd need to probably watch some Survive the Jive to find that out. So yeah, that's I think. Yeah, I don't have to go on much more than that. Burger time. As I say, a lot of the sex scenes could have been without. Didn't need as much nudity as it needed. It was the amount of unnecessary stuff. This film could have been a lot more highbrow, but I think the suits thought, nah, this is just a crazy film, put some baps in it. So kind of ruined the whole vibe of it, I thought. But at the same time, if they're trying to push that this is a sexually degenerate society, they did a pretty good job of that. So, how many burgers? See, I want to say 8, but I think that's way too harsh. I think this film's way more competent than that. I think it's really good. I think it's high. I think it's a 9. I think it's a 9 out of 12. Yeah, flaming hot grilled burgers, maybe even a double patty. I mean, I don't know. Maybe a pork burger, actually, since we're burning a man and men are just long pigs. So there you go.
Some crispy duck on the side.
Yeah, no cheese as well. Although the charm was lost with all the nudity, it wasn't cheesy nudity. I think it was there for a reason. So there you go. 9 out of 12.
I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
TCG, how'd I do?
Okay. We haven't done this for a while. Prediction for the Prodigal Shale Prodder. Harrian looks for a strong story and engaging character, and a nice set of bobs won't go amiss. The Wicker Man was therefore a big hit with him, and he'll love it much more. He'll love it more on the rewatch. He'll have questions about how much everyone could be briefed on the plan and how every clue could be laid. But the symbolic importance of the king for a day will win him over. He may also have a concern over Willow tempting Howie when they need a virgin sacrifice. Was she so sure of his Christian dedication that she took the risk and taunted him? Was Willow trying to spare him? What if she'd messed up the entire plan by successfully tempting him into kicking her door down and rodding her more thoroughly than a Victoria plumbing training video? As, as, as we all did, Haryan noticed some continuity issues and deducts a burger. Hopefully, he added more for Christopher Lee. He may have some concern about the pacing of the finale and the questions of what comes after. Still, he liked the uniquely British story and bold decisions, awarding it 10 burgers, no ketchup.
Ooh,
Not bad. Not
Pretty
bad.
close.
I'll give you that. Yeah,
Pretty
effort.
close. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm such a disappointment.
No, I'll take that. I'll take that. I think. Yeah. Maybe I was a bit off on the on some of the specifics, you know. But
yeah. But no,
I'm still not exactly sure what Willow was trying to do. To be honest, if she is just taunting him, or if it's a genuine like, here's a way out.
I think it's a test her out, isn't it? That's kind of the vibe I got, because it was kind of like they knew he was the right person based on all of the points that he'd hit. You know, the fact that he was still a virgin, the fact that he came there of his own accord, like the whole king for the day thing, because, you know, he started going above and beyond his remit. Because he was hitting all those notes, they were like, yeah, you're the guy.
Yeah, as you said, she has left it until the last minute to do it, so she's pretty darn sure. I've just left this up, not just because it's a 12 out of 12 that I want to agree with, but there's just an interesting thing. So all the music was recorded in advance, but then Robin Hardy called the band up and said, no, you've got to actually come on set and play. So they found themselves suddenly, oh, bugger, we're on this freezing island and we're actually having to be in the film, crikey. And one of the band members suggested that for authenticity, for the atmosphere, they should imbibe a little herb that was popular at the time, if you get me.
No idea what you mean.
Oh, they got high. They got high on the devil's lettuce, and then they were absolutely unable to play.
Nah, don't believe you. In the 70s.
They wrecked themselves and were unable to do the take. So I thought that was quite funny. Gosh, right. And also, yeah, TCG, honestly, family show, keep it clean with those predictions, honestly. That was... So, closing thoughts. I think this is amazing, not just as a film, but as a historical artifact. Like, this marker of a time when you really have a Britain in huge change. It's sort of telling the story of an old establishment seeing itself basically on the way out. Looking at the future as something, you know, like, and this is really a story about the older generation, the old establishment being terrified of what is coming, because they see that their values are not held up. They're on the way out and something new is taking their place. And they're worried about, well, frankly, how's the new regime going to treat them? Now, they tell the story about the future by telling you a story about the past, but the resonance is very clear, and that makes it absolutely fascinating. And if you think this film, wondering about, are we going to see in the wake of the 60s a Britain where people are just romping in the streets up to all sorts of decadence and Gomorrhean excess? Obviously, they're being absolutely mental. I mean, can you imagine if there was some kind of publicly broadcast smut like MILF Manor or something? Obviously, they're paranoid. But it still remains absolutely fascinating. Now, cultural commentary aside, we've got a wonderful performance by Edward Woodward and Christopher Lee, just being absolutely class. There is a reason this is Christopher Lee's favourite film, you know, and it's well deserved. So it all helps stand out. We've got an unconventional horror, a reaction to excessive gore, and showing that you can do less with more. And it gives you something far more subtly unsettling with a lot of relevance and very memorable authentically British feeling to it. I don't know. It feels like an 11 out of 12, but at that point, I think I do have to drop off some points for some of the awkwardness around the cutting and the picture quality, which isn't really their fault. I think I end up at a 10.5. Because ultimately, you know, we still haven't seen the full film. I would love to see the 99-minute version. So I think if I, as much as I absolutely love this, this is probably my 6th watch of the film. And I know I'm going to watch it again. It's so fast. It just breezes by. It's so compelling. It's so haunting. Realistically, you know, this isn't the perfect cut of it. And I think it's got to go for something like 10.5 burgers. Obviously, flame grilled, far less ketchup than I expected, but, you know, very notable baps. So, I mean, Mergu, so many missing scenes in this one. All right, well, I think that is everything I've got to say on this one. We're efficient. Nice. We're working it. We're Super Nanny approved. We're doing it. So at this point, I guess, well, we do the horror homework, folks. You know, this is what we do at this point. And, oh, I need to tell you, we are not streaming on Thursday next week. We're going to stream on Friday, hopefully. I realise I haven't actually run that by TCG, so we'll have a bit of a conversation after the show and make sure that actually works for him. But that's to accommodate our guest. We've got Lambda coming on. And we've got, he's a busy guy. He's going to be running I guess you would say, a series of streaming for Easter. He did it last year. It was called Lambster. I'm going to be on that. So to schedule it, we're going to stream the discussion about the 1994 Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, directed by Kenneth Branagh, starring Robert De Niro, weirdly enough. And then we'll be doing a separate recording. So I think we will do that Friday, but I will confirm. Regardless, your horror homework is Kenneth Branagh's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein from 1994. It's got John Cleese in it, weirdly, as well. It's an odd cast. But enjoy it. As a bonus, if you're familiar with the book, it will help. You don't have to be. I'll try and be as expository as possible about the book. But if you have time to read the book or listen to an audiobook of Frankenstein, then that will help. But otherwise, feel free, just watch the 1994 Kenneth Branagh version. That will be everything. Oh, and if you haven't seen it already, watch my Scream 6 emergency stream. It is a hoot. I had a good time doing it, and it was really great seeing so many of you in the chat there. There's going to be a new video very soon. There is an exclusive video for channel members dropping tomorrow. And at this point, well, all I say is a massive thank you to my guests, TCG and Haryan.
Pleasure as always.
Yeah.
Oh, and Sig as well.
We should do this again sometime.
You know you're always welcome, man. It's always an absolute pleasure having you on. Tell you what, next time we get you on, we'll do some of the games again.
Games?
Yeah, the play your stars right.
Yeah.
And we've got some others we can do as well. Nice. So we'll do that. I'll wait for the right movie. All right, brilliant stuff. And thank you, chat. You've been very numerous tonight and lively, and I really appreciate that. Massive thanks again to the NREB for gifting so many memberships. It's much appreciated, and I hope everyone who is a member enjoys the sort of behind the scenes peek that you get at what I do and the exclusive stuff. I hope you enjoyed the stream, and I will be signing off. All right.
Just before you go, very quickly, I just popped a link in the chat to my latest YouTube short, which I uploaded during this stream, which ties into the video that I uploaded on Tuesday. So if you haven't seen it yet, check out the short. And if you're interested, there's a link in the description or pinned comment within that to go and see the whole thing.
Yes, do it. TCG is proud of this one, and if he's proud of this, you know it's going to be a good one. Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. Yes. I am so chuffed that we're at 100. That's amazing. That has come up, that's come up quick.
It has, hasn't it? It's mad.
I know. Haryan TCG, veterans of the first stream, here on the 100th one. Oh, that's lovely.
Boom.
See you at episode 200. Woo!
All right. Thanks, y'all. Cheers.
Hashtag Shield Gang.
Hashtag drill gang.
I'm not a driller.